Having a lazy Saturday today, so I'm filming in my pajamas and my slippers. Hi everyone, I'm Claire, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about world building with ghosts. I just spent 2 years writing a book about ghosts. When I first started, I really struggled to find any guidance on how to world build with ghosts. What questions do you need to answer? What are some common pitfalls to avoid? But as I wrote the book, I created a system, and I wanted to share everything that I learned with you today. So, before you try to break down the way that ghosts and spirits work in your world, you first need to figure out what you want the ghosts to do. Why are the ghosts there? And what genre are you writing in? In most ghost stories, ghosts create a source of terror. The way they operate is unknown by your characters. Your characters don't know how to kill them, how to summon them. They don't know what the ghosts can do and what they can't do. This makes the ghosts very scary. Think of ghost stories like The Shining, or the movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I know there's a book too, I just only watched the movie. Or the movie Hereditary. If you want your story to scare your readers, it's important to keep the rules and the ways in which the ghosts operate largely, if not completely, unknown, because then they'll be scarier. I've made an entire video on this, so go check out my video, How to Write Horror, for my theory on what makes writing scary. The unknown is one of the things that I talk about. However, scaring people is not the only thing that ghosts can do in stories. If you're writing a horror story, maybe the source of the horror isn't the ghosts at all. Maybe it's a force terrorizing the ghosts. Maybe the ghosts are a friendly cast of characters and caretakers, like some characters in the Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, who raise Bod. Maybe the ghosts serve an emotional purpose, or take the character on a journey, like the ghosts present in A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Ghosts may also serve as an allegory or personification of trauma, or other emotional states, similar to the way that Toni Morrison uses ghosts in Beloved. As a general rule of thumb, and there are exceptions to this, the more that your readers know about your ghosts, the less scary your ghosts will be to them. In a story, like the TV series Supernatural, the main characters of Supernatural go and hunt these supernatural creatures and save the people, usually, kind of, from these forces that are terrorizing them. Because the show sets up its conflict by pitting Dean and Sam, who are the protagonists, against these supernatural creatures, it's important to understand at least somewhat how to kill the supernatural creatures in order to create tension between Dean and Sam and these supernatural creatures. The tension isn't that Dean and Sam are being hunted by these supernatural beings. The tension is created when they are pitted against these supernatural beings, and the audience asks themselves, who's gonna win? You might be asking yourself whether it's necessary to have a system of logic for these ghosts in your story, or if it doesn't matter. It depends on the story you're writing. In my supernatural thriller, They Stay, readers are introduced in Chapter 2 to a character who has the ability to see ghosts. She's had this ability her entire life, and even though she's bullied and ostracized by people at her school, she is accepted and loved by the people in the cemetery, at least most of them, because they're kind to her, and she's kind to them, and they've become a sort of family. In Chapter 3, readers are introduced to a force that is threatening the ghosts, and the ghosts are terrified. The source of the conflict and the horror in this book is not the ghosts and how I want them to scare the reader, but how I want the reader to be attached to the ghosts and be scared of this threat that is threatening them. Because this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a system of logic for the ghosts that my main characters could discover more about over the course of the story. I wanted to know what the system was the entire time so that I could make sure that the ghosts' actions are logical and are consistent, but I wanted to understand exactly how they functioned in the world, and these are some questions that I asked myself when developing that. Because it's really difficult, and like you can write part of it, and then you read it back, and then you're like, oh, I found this little plot hole that I didn't realize was there before, and then you'll think that you have everything covered, and you'll show it to someone else, and they ask a question about the ghost, and you're like, oh geez, like, I did not even think of that when I was writing it for the first time. It's an endless puzzle, so I wanted to give you these questions because I think that that will at least give you a good place to start. Do ghosts stay on Earth forever after dying? Does everybody become a ghost? If not, who does? Does being a ghost change the way that you act? Are you made a more angry version of yourself, or are you the exact same? What is life like as a ghost? Is it miserable? Is it okay? Is it really good? Can ghosts move through things? If so, are there any materials that they can't move through? Do ghosts maintain their physical appearance on Earth when dead? Can ghosts affect anything in the physical world? What can they make happen? Can they make things fall off of bookcases? Can anything kill ghosts? Can anything deter ghosts? Do any incantations summon ghosts? Can ghosts move everywhere, or are they bound by anything? Is there a place that ghosts go after they've been ghosts? Is the ghost realm a sort of purgatory place before they move on to a final afterlife? Or is this the afterlife? Does everyone stay a ghost until the end of time? Can ghosts possess people? Can anyone in your world see ghosts naturally? Are there any objects that allow your characters to see ghosts? Are there any other supernatural elements in your world, like ley lines or supernatural energy? This is not a complete list. Ghosts are tricky because there are always going to be parts to them that you cannot fully explain. But this should give you a good start. The best piece of advice that I got when trying to create my ghost world from one of my professors was that people will suspend their disbelief so long as they're entertained. Create ghosts and a ghost world that is so engaging that people are willing to suspend their disbelief over things that they don't quite understand. Creating a system of understanding for the ghosts is important if you're creating a story in which the ghosts are defeated, or if they're not the main source of your story's horror. Ghosts are often used in horror stories as a way to terrify your protagonists. It isn't necessary to understand as much about the ghosts then, especially if they end up defeating your protagonists. For example, let's say you're writing a horror story in which a family moves into a house that ends up being haunted. Over the course of the story, the ghosts start to slowly terrify the family. They appear in their bedrooms while they're sleeping. They make things fall onto them. At the end of the story, every single member of the family has been brutally murdered. This story is knock your socks off terrifying. If you're writing a story like this, you don't need to know what is going to kill the ghosts because the ghosts do not die. You really only need to know which ghosts they are, what they can do, maybe why they're doing it. You want to create an incentive for the ghosts because, at least in my opinion, horror is scarier when there seems to be something going on behind the scenes that you don't understand. It's not random, but you have no idea what it is and you don't know how to stop it. You can achieve this by having a very basic understanding of your ghosts and then telling the story from your main character's point of view who has no idea what's going on. World building is hard, and it's normal to run into roadblocks or realize that you've created plot holes for yourself as you're going. But just give it a shot. I gave it a shot. I wrote a draft, I found some problems, I fixed the problems, I wrote another draft, I found more problems. I repeated the cycle for a long time before I created a draft that I was really proud of. There isn't really a way to cut corners, you just kind of have to do it. If you have any more questions about world building or want to ask me a question about your world in particular, send me an email. My email is in the description. I would love to talk about your world with you, so email me. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel for more writing advice videos and writing vlogs coming to you every Monday. And if you haven't already, make sure to enter my giveaway. It is open until Friday the 22nd, and I'm giving away 5 scary books and 100 Stranger Things stickers. The link to enter is down below, so get those entries in. Bye everyone, and happy writing.